Is Trekland HQ, and we are live. Whose TV numbers are right, Star Trek? Today on Trekland Tuesdays Live, with me, Dr. Trek, Larry Nemechek, coming at you right here from the heart of Trekland for some Clanity, Sarity, and the Clanity and Sarity. Yes, it's the new hit cop show on NBC. It's Sanity and Clarity coming at you here in all things Star Trek this week. Oh, I'm so excited. I've got to get to it. There is so much going on. Forgive me for a little tongue-tiedness there. Thank you all for being with us for another Tuesday. And if you are new to Tuesdays Live, then here in Trekland, then jump in the chat. You got to see the chat. We have a great community you want to introduce. Say where you're coming from. Love to have you with us. You'll make 15 new friends before you get out of the show. It's almost as good as a live con. No, I'm going to be here talking today, Dr. Trek, on this topic. Whose TV numbers can you trust? Can you believe? But along the way, later on, we'll have a midweek break, mid-break. We're going to look at the Parrot Analytics TV streaming ratings for the U.S., and then I will dive headlong back into this chat for real, so I'm not paying attention to the chat. And again, if you're watching us later, we'd really love to have you live on Tuesdays afternoon. I know everybody can make that. And if you are in the chat, remember that you are seeing Facebook only if you're coming to us on Facebook. If you're on YouTube or Twitch, you're seeing it all. Or that's the thing anyway. And I do want to remind everybody before we go any further that coming up, we are like in the final days for our Gene Roddenberry Great Bird Origins Tour, okay? It's awesome. I have been trying to get the word out that we've got 4 seats left. Today, this is not a third Tuesday, but I'm going to tell you, we've got 2 seats for the first people that can grab them that are $50 off, but I got to know by Thursday midnight. Alrighty? Is that working? It's not working. There we go. We've wound up with just a little space, and I'd like to see everybody jump in. We've got a little swag. We've got 2 days, and yes, we have Rod Roddenberry with us for most of Sunday, and we're ending with a screening of Trek Nation at Roddenberry headquarters with Rod there and some pizza. It'll be a great time. It'll be a very special time. If you can jump in here at the very end, but we've got to cut things off. This is a week from this weekend. It's August 20th and 21st. It ends the Gene Roddenberry centennial year, and in a big way. And it's the weekend before Trek Vegas, so that might fit in with some of your travel plans as well, okay? So, getting that out of the way, we are in a hiatus time. And I do want to say also, there's a little bit of breaking news. Ben Robinson, who many of you know from Eagle Moss, I go back with him all the way to the Fact Files days. But a lot of people have been shaken and disappointed and upset and saddened, angry by the pending bankruptcy reorganization, perhaps, of Eagle Moss, Hero Collector. Now, whether that means they will emerge from bankruptcy, whether that means that they're liquefying the assets right now, something's got to come out of it. And it's in the UK, so it's their legal system. The thing is that no longer being an employee of Eagle Moss, and I'm saying this off the cuff, I'm just catching up on this the last 24 hours, Ben has been tweeting. He's been telling the world that he's trying to get the assets and reestablish. A lot of people got cut midway through their Enterprise D, assemble the Enterprise D model. A lot of people were left hanging, much less their subscriptions, much less just the idea of future ships. And we're just talking Star Trek, not even the Doctor Who franchise or the other franchises that they kindred to. So he's saying, go and check his Twitter feed. I think it's Ben S. Robinson. Stay tuned there. And he's also looking for a show of support as people try to pick up the pieces and move on, hopefully with some of these actual products and product lines intact. I wanted to get out there as a shout out of support for Ben and for the whole Eagle Moss community, hopefully salvaging that. I've been part of things that blew up suddenly once or twice that were Star Trek licensees. I know how that feels, and I know how people feel who are depending on that. All right. Check out, follow Ben, see what's going on if you have any interest at all, or even if you just want to be a show of support for another Star Trek entity that's brought so much joy to fans around the world that could use your help now in retrospect. And I know everybody in licensing on the corporate side of the studio side is anxious to maybe help them whatever can be done to help them salvage the wonderful merchandise, the wonderful vibe, even the publications, perhaps. So we'll see how that goes. Did want to put that out as kind of a last minute thing. But also in the last few days, my eye has been drawn to a couple of different headlines about the business side of Star Trek. And of course, here in Trekland, we're all about the actors and all about the backstage and all about some of the fun stuff, but also the thing that makes it go is not a bunch of Packlets. It is the almighty dollar or pound or euro, wherever you're living. And a pair of conflicting headlines caught my eye in the last few days. One of them was bolstered. It was spurred on by our good friends at Paramount Analytics, who aren't political, who don't have a dog in the race, but actually somebody from their insights team supplied some. It's just the byline is just Paramount Analytics supplied some insight and commentary to the Wrap, to the Wrap Pro, thewrap.com. This was just a couple of days ago. This was just yesterday. Headline is Why Paramount Plus Needs to Look for New Frontiers to Compete in the Streaming Wars, with charts. And of course, Paramount Analytics, as you who follow us every week here, they have a algorithm called average demand expression where they scour the internet to look for, they're trying to get a gauge on relative popularity of all these digital streaming series which we've been following for the last, since 2017 in the dawn of Discovery. But for the history of television, at least in the States, commercial TV, we've all, as a byproduct of setting ad rates for commercials for a popular show versus an unpopular show, you shouldn't have to pay the same ad rate, a sponsor. The byproduct of that has been we've seen those numbers have been published, and it gave us an instant view to who was popular, who wasn't, over time, head to head even. Or it didn't if you want to quibble with their methodology. Streaming did away with all that, and we've been following week to week as best we can, especially the Star Trek series, how they shape up in this average demand expression, which is looking at the modern world of streaming, no commercials, no ad rates, but also internet access the way it's not just watching it on your little TV set. You're on your phone and your pad and wherever you might get it. And Parrot is one of the companies that's done it. They've kind of been at it the longest. It's probably been close to 10 years soon. They've also got a very, very busy insights department that takes all that data and does something with it. They're trying to monetize it, obviously, and be a consultant to studios and producers and sponsors and all kinds of entities. But they share a lot of it with the public. This they did with different news outlets. And with thewrap.com, this article about why Paramount needs to look for new frontiers to compete in the streaming wars. Whole point is they're saying their premise or their theory that they've looked at data and they present here. But the bottom line is that they say that the newness of all the new Star Trek is wearing thin, having the back catalog in one place, which it's actually not going to be much longer, counting some of the movies for a temporary time anyway. But right now, they're looking at while Paramount Plus, within the remerged Paramount Global, now that CBS and Viacom are back together, and the CBS All Access now is Paramount Plus, it's been growing. They're saying that quarter two last year, they went from 3.4% of the whole streaming pie to 5.4% in quarter two of this year. Some of they're saying a lot of it's Star Trek. Some of it's been their Yellowstone prequel, 1883 has been popular. The series adaptation of Halo, the game, has been popular, and it has been growing. They have now up to 43 million subscribers. This is the company saying this. 4.9 million. What Parrot is looking at, though, is that the share of subscriber pie, because Netflix is shrinking, as we all know, things are diversifying. Hulu is about the same. Amazon Prime is about the same. What's happened is Disney has grown nearly doubled, maybe grown by 2/3. Apple TV has jumped in and about the same. They've grown by 2/3. And then HBO Max since 2020 has jumped in as a streamer, as an original streamer. And that's what we're talking about here. Original streaming. The share of the original streaming pie. Now, Paramount's grown from 4.2 to 5.4%. They've been under the radar. They're holding their own. And yeah, it's been all on the back of Star Trek. What Parent Analytics is looking at when they say they're in demand, their demand aesthetic, they're looking at the top in demand shows on Paramount Plus. And guess what? Star Trek Picard is number one, followed by Strange New Worlds, number two. And the way they do their metric now, they do it as not as in raw demand, but as a factor of the average show that they measure. So Star Trek Picard, for the second quarter, that's, April, May, June. The second quarter was which was a prime time of dropping shows, was at 25.8% or 25.84 times an average show. Strange New Worlds right behind at 24.3 times an average show. And then behind that at Halo, then Discovery at 16.1%, which, to be fair, was mostly out of its season. Then 1883, SEAL Team, iCarly, Lower Decks at 12.83, Prodigy at 11.12, and then The Offer. That was the top 10 Paramount Plus shows in their own platform, their own channel in order. What's happening, what they're saying, though, is that among the two shows, that Picard versus Strange New Worlds, and this is what was of interest to me. Well, let me take that back. They're saying they're comparing Picard versus Strange New Worlds season 1 premiere. So they're going back to the opening Picard premiere pre-pandemic, remember, a couple of weeks before all the lockdowns hit. March 2020, they're looking at the season 1 premiere demand. Again, not eyeballs, but the way they measure demand. They've got a chart for the season 1, the pilot premiere of Picard from 2020 versus Strange New Worlds this year, just a couple of months ago. And they're consistently seeing that Picard was higher. As 8 days, 16 days, 20, as the days go along, including a 64-day spike on Picard, may have been a free day. I don't know, free week offer. But the conclusion that they're drawing here is that this is a sign, measuring demand of the pilots 2 years apart for Picard and Strange New Worlds. This is a sign to them that the gloss is off of Star Trek as a newbie driver for Paramount Plus. Not to say that the audience is drying up, but if they want to stay on top, I just thought it was an interesting data set. They're not looking at what's going on recently. Everything has been, their conclusion is they're saying it may be wise for Paramount to direct more resources to other projects, like the Yellowstone universe, 1883 and 1932, which I've not watched. They're talking about the Halo and other game platforms. There's this screaming headline, why Paramount Plus needs to look for new frontiers to compete in the streaming wars. In other words, get off your Star Trek dependence, get out and develop other franchises. Well, of course, that's good advice anytime, right? I mean, don't just lean on one franchise, get out and whatever. There's some old wives' tales we can use here, some old allegorical phrases. You can get out and develop franchises. This is the back end of this. The adverse of this is sounding like they're saying that the demand for Star Trek is growing up. But I would say that the demand is just starting to grow. There's buzz. There was the bump. I think it was a bump out of Comic-Con. I was just really curious that they're comparing, to get that premise, to come up with that hypothesis. They're comparing the premiere of Picard in March 2020, pre-pandemic, with the premiere of Strange New Worlds now. And I would almost say that some of that's got to be due to the fact that Picard was a global entity, known, and melted down the internet when they announced the show. I mean, I could even see reasons why that would be, but I don't think going back to 2020, after all we've been through, is the right data set to come up with this kind of a premise. Now, the other headline that grabbed my attention, apparently this one in the wrap with data provided by Parrot, saying, get off your Star Trek dependence, Paramount Plus, you got to develop more, which again is good advice anytime. But if you're going to imply from that or infer from that Star Trek is wearing out, Let's look at this announcement 4 days ago, August 4th. Paramount Global, the whole shebang now, the whole reimagined and remerged shebang corporation, headed by Bob Bakish, had its quarterly sales call. Everything is rosy. Everything is growing. Top Gun Maverick in the film division was a big part of that. The film unit had 126% revenue gain. Ad revenue in the TV media unit dropped a little, and higher streaming investments hit their bottom line. So this is an overall, and I'm not going to get lost in the weeds here, but they've got nearly 64 million streaming customers. That's everything, not just Paramount Plus. All right. Now, here's the thing. They gave up 3.9 million subscribers that they cut off in Russia as part of the pushback on the Ukraine invasion. So Paramount gave up 3.9 million paying customers inside Russia, which was incredible. Overall, the whole company revenue jumped 19%. They had 126% growth in the film industry, I said. Ad revenue down a little bit in the TV media unit. Of course, that's everything from CBS broadcast on down. All the little companies that channels that like Pluto that you globalists have been watching some of Star Trek's on. They're looking at some of this. But bottom line is Paramount Plus itself added 4.9 million subscribers. Now, you offset that with the 1.2 rush of subscribers just on Paramount Plus. But overall, they hit over 43 million. They had 39.6 million at the end of March. So just in April, May, and June, in the next quarter, what is that, 10%? Over 10%? 12%? They say Paramount Plus had the most signups, gross, and net subscriber additions of any premium domestic streaming service in the quarter. Now, you're always looking for headlines in the way you skew stats, but that's nothing, including, this is global, including the launches in the UK, Ireland, and South Korea. So, I mean, they've been bearish about that. It's just funny. And they're talking about more than Star Trek. Halo 1883, Lost City, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Jackass Forever, Strange New Worlds, yes, which was in Parrot's own data, the first week or two was the hottest streaming show in the world as it premiered. So that's great. And the UEFA League, Champions League. So they're talking about Pluto added some users, la-di-da, again, probably because of the global. Yeah. They had over 5 million if you included Russia. Showtime has been it, and they lost the Russia subs. Anyway, that's been a drag on things overall. But Paramount Plus looks like it's up maybe 10%-ish. They're not putting a percentage to it. So I don't know. It's just if you're scanning the media headlines and you see Paramount hits nearly 64 million global streaming subs as Paramount Plus grows to top 43 million subscribers. And then if you read a line where you gave up 4 million, whatever it was, in Russia. So this is a case where you see competing headlines and you may even have a gut feeling. I'm not saying that the Wrap.com, I'm not saying that Parrot's numbers, their own metric, weren't good. I just don't know about the data points they proceeded from. So if you're on my channels, I didn't do this with the newsletter, but just in the last 12 to 24 hours, I thought I would check out what Twitter and Instagram had to say about this. And I want to make it very clear that I am not stirring anything up. I'm not trying to make favorites among the family here. We all have them, but I don't want to go out public and say, hey, everybody, let's fight over this. No, what I wanted to do was totally anecdotal, not scientific, but see what the reaction was if it matched my gut feeling. So on Instagram, on my Instagram stories, I said, hey, react to this story. What is your favorite? Picard or Strange New Worlds? Or are they even? You can't decide. Well, now we didn't have a lot. We had 80-something voters. But of the 80 voters, Strange New Worlds, 68%. Picard, 16%. And they're even, I can't decide, 16%. So that's about what I figured my gut reaction was. Then I look at Twitter, where I have a much bigger platform. We had, well, it's bearing down. Let me upres. Oh, it's ended. It's ended. I had 373 votes on Twitter. That's a fair. Now it's my Twitter following, unless it was retweeted over. Not sure. Here, the percentage was 71.6% said Strange New Worlds, 14.7% said Picard, 13.7% said they're even, I can't decide. Which, if you look at this, is within 3 points. 3 points on the big one, a point or two on the small. But basically, the bell curve is right on. Again, it's anecdotal, it's not scientific. These are Instagram users of me, my followers on Instagram, and you should be if you're not. My followers on Twitter. It was just a snap poll the last 12 hours or so from last evening on. 24 hours for Twitter, 12 hours for Instagram. And maybe is this confirmation bias? And maybe in Trekland, in my world, with you guys, that's the reaction. Now, I had a lot of people on Twitter who are looking at Did you know that if you're on a third-party app and you're on Twitter, though, these polls only show up if you're in native Twitter? If you're on any other, if you're on any other Twitter reader, tweet bot, for one, you don't see that. So people just saw me ask the question. They didn't see the little box that you could click in that would tally. And I got all kinds of random answers. And I'm going to say the random answers, before I warned everybody to go to real Twitter to do the box, the random answers were overwhelmingly Strange New Worlds, a few Picard, and a couple of I can't decide. Don't make me pick among my children. Anyway, I thought that was very interesting, but it's a good lesson in Star Trek or, in politics, in anything, in sports stats. It's, when I say check your sources, sometimes I mean like check the graphs. Any good story looking at data like that should talk about their methodology, and not to put you to sleep, but just to give you a bare bone. That's why I'm saying checking the story in the wrap. I didn't understand why looking at the premiere of Picard and the premiere of Strange New Worlds was going to give you any kind of a feel for where things were right now. And if they're giving advice to a corporation about what to do in their coming quarters, I don't quite know what using a 2020 comparison just because it's an apple to an apple of a premiere of a series, what that has to do with anything. Anyway, so there's the parrots. There's that. We're in kind of a fallow time. We're waiting on Lower Decks to start. Some of these news events are trickling into us. It's summer. People are on vacation, and a lot of you are going to summer cons. You've already been out, so I hope everybody's doing all the things. I don't know what's going on with you. I'm going to get to the chat. Did I stir anything up here? Again, I think people are going to be confused by that headline when they see it in the wrap. I think more importantly, I think a lot of mundanes, I think a lot of people in the industry, bean counters and decision makers, are going to see that and go, well, Star Trek is losing its luster. It's worn off its new. And I don't think that's true at all. It depends on the product, but it's also a rapidly evolving market out there with the streaming platforms all coming back around to where cable was. They're merging. That's going to be an interesting mess. I still say, though, Star Trek is in a little bit of a protected class because they do depend on it so much. Paramount Plus does depend on it to drive subscribers. The subscriber base is growing. I don't think we're wearing anybody out because the short nature of the series. It was good to take a rest, though. I will say it was good to take a rest a month or so ago. But I think people are going to be ready for Lower Decks. They're going to be ready, get on with it already for the TNG reunion in Picard Season 3. They're going to get on with it already for the next season of Strange New Worlds, especially knowing it's been shot. They're going to say, get on already with poor Prodigy being dribbled out in 5s and 10s. What's the other show? Oh, yeah, Discovery. They're going to say, Discovery's been a new series every season. I wonder what the 5th incarnation of Discovery will look like. And I say that saying that, all the series had to shoot through the pandemic, which affected the feel and tone somewhat, much less the sanity level of the producers and editors and second ADs handling extras and visual effects and composers in post. It'll be good to see what people in a halfway sane, let's hope, landscape health wise will provide us. But I do not think the luster is off. I haven't seen anything so boneheaded as when the head guy was talking about audience fatigue at the end of Enterprise, when I was pretty sure it was producer fatigue. The audience, as the fan film showed, were just getting revved up. If you build it, they will come. All right. What do you think? Hey, again, if you're new to Trekland Tuesdays Live, jump in the chat. Let me know. I'm going to backtrack. I'm going to catch all the comments when we're done here. Thanks, everybody, for jumping in and voted on Instagram and on Twitter. If you're not on any of my socials, please do. Like and subscribe the old YouTube if you're not there yet, whether you're watching me now there or not. Yes, most of all, a huge shout out, obviously, always to our Patreons, our TTL Club. And I'm talking to you, Diana Hopkins, Lawrence Todd, Keith Rombach, Blaze K, Robin Wilson, Anne-Marie Siegel, Justin Porteous. What am I doing? Nathaniel Robinson, Andrew Zimski, and Pranakasha Productions. And our live wires, of course. Rusty Harold, Halberd Gunn Johnson, Robert McLean, Alan Johansson, J.R. Poole, Byron Bailey, Dave Gregory, Gay Clevin Lundstrom, and Casey Shafsky. Really love you. Love you for helping us out. We are slowly expanding things, can you tell? Got some surprises coming up. You can be a Patreon helper too, supporter, $5 or $10. A shout out, access to our prior early day archives from Portal 47, all the backstage creatives. We are still working on it. We're going to get it there, but appreciate all the support from everybody. Thanks so much. Patreon.com/Tuesday Live was the thing. And yeah, the Trek Files is still on hiatus right now, but we'll be back in a few weeks. The first 8 seasons are all there. Podcast.roddenberry.com. And if you want the documents, though, you got to go to our Facebook page. We're everywhere you get your podcasts. The only place to get the digital paper that we talk about is at Facebook. So I appreciate everybody liking us over there and following, no matter where you actually pick the show up, all right? Wow. Everywhere else, though, it's Larry Nemechek on Twitter. It's Larry Nemechek's Trekland or Larry's Trekland on YouTube. Please subscribe and like us over there. Do the alert, ring the bell, all that stuff. You can do that on Facebook, too. And, of course, Instagram. You might get another chance to vote in a poll also as well. Of course, LarryNemechek.com, you can get on our list, and we have the newsletters over there. Hey, everybody, did I get around to everything? I think I did. Just want to have one more last call here on, if you're watching later on YouTube, our August 20th and 21st Great Bird Origins Tour. If you want to get this deal, though, it's by Thursday midnight. I've got 2 seats. We will do them $50 off. You'll have to pay for them full price. But if you let me know, anybody that I see buying one of these last seats, I'll email you back and say, do you have something to tell me? And then you will say, saw it on Tuesdays Live. And then, boom, I will refund your $50 back. That's the way we'll keep this simple. All righty? Can't wait for this. This is a whole new thing. It's not locations. We're going to go to the life sites, life, family, career, work, and hear from Rod that made Gene and made Star Trek out of the gate and for forever. Gave it its DNA right here around LA, not Toronto. All right. We love our Toronto creatives. But history is history. All right, that's going to do it. Hang on. If you're with me live, we will get to you here in just a second. But if you are watching us later on YouTube, oh boy, please stay healthy out there. Do all the things. Stay woke. Check your sources. And of course, trek well, everybody. Thank God. How hot is it where you are? Oh boy. Mm. Let's see what's going on. Where is everybody? Okay. Oh, we're doing the parrots. We're not going to forget the parrots this week. But here's the thing, gang. Somebody at Parrot Analytics that does the infographics, that does the demand insights, stories, and graphs, must have been on vacation. They are not around. I'm going to check one more time, just in case. But I don't think, as of an hour ago, 45 minutes ago, they had posted. Wrong. There we go. Yep. The July 29th numbers are still the last thing showing, unfortunately. But I could go over and see how the series are doing. Nothing is hot right now. Nothing is releasing new episodes. But, in light of this talk about Picard and Strange New Worlds, I was just curious to see if we could glean any insight from that. So right now, again, no new episodes. Of course, the demand is going to slack off a little bit. Strange New Worlds, the 30-day average, which includes the last finale, is at 26.6, which is still outstanding. It's in their upper 2.7% of all shows. That's outstanding. The line has dropped. The line has dropped in the last 30 days average 20.6%, which you would expect, right? The buzz is gone from all the online activity. Meanwhile, Picard currently, which is even further away from its last fresh episode, is sitting at 20.5%. But here's the funny thing. Buzz, the demand, is growing for Picard 10.4%. Why? Well, look at their trend line, and they got a Comic-Con spike. Of all the series, they were the ones that got the Comic-Con spike. I guess it was the Worf hair, after all. Not the crossover episodes with, there was a little bit of a bump for Lower Decks. Lower Decks, by the way, over the last 30 days, average is sitting at 13.0. And their trend line had a small bump and then down. What's interesting is Strange New, their trend line has been kind of flat. Not so much a bump. I don't know why. I don't understand. Even Lower Decks got a little bit of a bump for its scale before it was down. But not Picard. It's been rather flattish and then actually down a little bit. And I'm going to double check that for you just so I can see here, because it did seem odd. But yeah. Oh, I looked up Picard again. Sorry. That we had. Scintillating TV, gang. Scintillating. So Strange New Worlds. Yeah, Strange New Worlds got absolutely no bump. In fact, it's been dropping, which is, again, expected, but there was no little Comic-Con news bump for Strange New Worlds. Most of any bump translated into the Lower Decks numbers. So, nothing yet fresh, nothing surprising out of the Parrots. We don't have the top 10s this week, sorry. Somebody's asleep or on vacation over there. And again, nothing special to me. I pull them off their site at parrotanalytics.com. You can too. Go to the Insights tab. You can see everything I talk about week to week is all there. Plus these news articles that they prepare for others, specialty, or they post on their own, like the one that they were sending data for that they supplied to. It was not a Wrap.com reporter byline. It was from Parrot Analytics, an insight piece. Again, I think that's an odd couple of dots to connect. I think it's an apples and an oranges thing. If you want to just line up the history of the performance of first episodes in streaming, sure. But if you're talking about advice for going forward right now, it seems odd. And thanks everybody for jumping in the spot polls. Let's see what's going on with everybody today, and where we're all coming from. It's peanut butter. Is it here? It's peanut butter Larry time. I'm not quite sure what that means. Okay. Anyway, good to see you. Do I bring on a bout of Jif or something, or Peter Pan, or I don't know. That's interesting. We've got everybody with us. Okay, yay, Glenn, you got the notification on time. Yay. Ooh. Oh, hey, Jordy. What is this Alexander Road Glider Rider Jordan? Jordy. Good to see you, and we'll see you in Las Vegas too. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, okay, everybody. Heidi. Lots of folks. Some you guys haven't been with us for a while, but everybody. Um, okay. Everybody's having interesting times with their sign-ins and alerts, but there we go. Hey Dan, yeah. So I made that mention of Ben. I know he's doing some interviewing. If I was further along in my timetable here, my plan is here to have guests again or start having guests. But I saw he's doing 2 or 3 or 4 interviews. So there you go. Good way to promote the show there, Dan. That's good. Tell Nick hi. I said hi. I've got plans for Nick coming up too. Yes. Yeah. See, Dave, I have been in Ben's position before. I was editor of Communicator magazine when Decipher pulled the plug on the whole license and almost went bankrupt. And we had so many people, and that was a magazine, but we had so many people who were so invested and had been with Dan and the magazine and the fan club for 20 years, 30 years. But it's one of those legal corporate things where nobody can say anything. But since I was not an employee, I was a 1099, the bane of my existence. That's why I have Portal 47 and Trekland Treks now. The limits of being a 1099er, and I was a 1099er in the 90s when nobody knew what that meant. Yay. Now we know. Now feels like a third of the country, 40% of the country is self-employed and 1099. Back then, not so much. And I was in a position, though, to be able and say some comments at Star Trek Las Vegas to try to calm the waters a little bit. None of it wound up happening, though. So it was good to hear from Ben. Yes, indeed. Same thing happened with the original StarTrek.com. So I'm glad people got a little bit of hope. You know where the intentions are. And I will tell you, and it's in Twitter, John, Van Sitters, everybody in licensing wants to save this if they can. But, it's in the UK. We're talking about businesses. They can lend support, but it's got to happen with, the courts and who's overseeing assets and who's got what and who's making deals to be able to take pieces and resurrect it. So it may get complicated. Hopefully it won't. We'll know one way or the other as soon as we can. That's all you can say in a mess like that. Hey, Brandon, it's good to see you. Glad you can come in. I meant to say, Brandon, I hope the flooding there in Kentucky has not impacted you. It's impacting tons of people, and it's tragic, and it's historic. But I was thinking about you. I forget how far east your hills are. Let's see. Looking for questions. Always. Hey, Garrett. How's Lake Charles? Hopefully you guys are going to survive hurricane season this year. What is this about some of the movies not being on Paramount? Why? I know, as enduringly long as it's felt like it's taken for the corporation to remarry and get these setups and change these brands and all of this stuff, there are still contracts that were in play that they can't ignore. So whoever the 4K motion picture is going to had some kind of an exclusive. I mean, you can look at each individual title and it probably had an individual, or maybe a group of 2 or 3 of them had some kind of an exclusive or an exclusive by market deal. Somewhere somebody's going to chart where everything winds up turning up. You would think as a consumer, people would want that, and people do need it. But they think everybody is locked in your own little market. Like America, these channels. In UK, these channels. Portugal, these channels. Brazil, South Korea, these channels. They think everybody's only in their little, and oh, heaven forbid we all get the big picture of what the patchwork is global to global, country to country, globally. But that's it. It's not what the people trying to create the brands and have the uniformity and drive the money. Somebody over here is yelling, here's what we'll get for this deal. Somebody over here is saying, but we're trying to build our streaming platform. It does us no good to have stuff leaking everywhere else. So it's a competition. But the chaos of remarrying those two empires, there's an example of, and who knew 4 years ago that was going to happen. And that's how long-term some of the deals are done for. Or people are waiting in line, and just because this contract ended, the one that had to wait, now they get their turn at it. I know. It's crazy. It's crazy. Hello. Jay-Z. Hi, Jay-Z. Yes, Ben Robinson is doing 3 interviews this week. Stay tuned. Hi, Jay-Z. Hit that bell and subscribe if you haven't already. Yeah, I saw this, Dan, and yeah. It's like, I thought we'd all been through this last month. I'm going to chalk this up to, please, can we have a new show again? People are sitting around. Nobody's doing any navel gazing. They're dreaming up stuff, which Terry has proceeded to debunk. Yes. Talking about going back to the carpet lines and no. And going back to a quote by... Gang, actors sometimes are a little imprecise. You think about them dropping a spoiler, sometimes they're just wackably imprecise with what they do. And they're like, oh, that's right. They forget that they work in Star Trek, where we have canonistas, and we have analysts, and we have so much more. We have shippers. Yes. Anyway, yes, I chalk that up to... we've got summer doldrums, and people are desperate for headlines and news. And it's not even the toxic tubers that we had. I think their day is done unless we have a complete... I think there's a whole new... Look, we had to survive the last 5 or 6 years on many levels. And we've all learned how metrics and how algorithms for social attraction work online. We've had to relearn a whole new part of our culture and the way our brains work. And that applies to so much from our pop culture favorites on up. And it's all included that way. And I'm glad to see the toxic tubers' influence diminished. But now we're back into the realm of taking up that vacuum is just, over anxious. All the Starfleet intelligence bloggers out there who are so antsy-bantsy, twitchy to get something out, to come up with copy. They're on a demand. Even if they're not making any money, they feel like they're on a headline demand from 24/7. There we go. Scott, what do you say? Aren't the parrots really only saying that more people were talking about Picard? Yes. To me, that just says Picard may be more controversial. Yes, could be. Not necessarily a correlation between the parrot's average demand expression. I mean, yes, you're preaching to the choir here. But my point was, when someone sees that headline and they're not clued into the parrots, maybe they are, even then. But I still don't think those were adequate data points to compare to. But you're right. We're talking about the buzz, the glorified high-tech version of buzz. And that's what they do. Of course, they refine it. They try to bring in all kinds of... They're making a business model. They've grown. They now have a brag bar on their website of all the studios and channels that contract with them. Okay, what are you saying, Glenn? Why am I going into this hesitantly? Picard versus SNW in terms of average demand expression. SNW was so amazing that there wasn't a buzz from people disliking it. And okay, you're talking about the controversy foam, which is what Scott was saying. See, I've wondered about that myself. Buzz, who was it that used to say, there is no bad publicity, there's only no publicity? That's basically the grown up 2020 version of that old chestnut. Um, yeah. Because if you're satisfied people don't vote, and satisfied people don't write letters to the editor and gripe or get on Twitter now. Hmm. Well, I'm glad we figured out that you both were on the same page. Yeah. The headline that got your attention was that Paramount Streaming had a financial loss. Yeah, and I think as I got into, Dan, I think what they were trying to emphasize there is subscribers were up, but they took some losses. They took the Russia subscribers off, and they had some markups, some one-time markups year to year. What are you saying here, Rusty? Is Paramount, CBS, Viacom using care about the parrots, or not? What's the point of following them? Well, whether they do or not, they exist. But I do know that Paramount, I think Paramount, since the merger, Paramount has contracted with them to do some studies. So yeah, they're in fact, I think they've redesigned their webpage. They have this brag bar. There's at least 8 or 10 different studios and streaming channels that I'll look right now. We'll just here. We're on the back end. This won't be on YouTube. This doesn't have to be scintillating, and I will look right now. If you go to, yeah, some of you are probably going to beat me to it. Some of you may even spell it right the first time. You may not be allergic to getting the L out. Okay, their brag bar, who they've done business with. Well, the Wrap, Bloomberg, and Insider, right there. The attention economy. That's how they're positioning themselves. So they've got Disney Plus, HBO Max, Amazon, Google, Meta, Stars, Turner, Discovery, CAA, the huge agency, talent agency, Warner Media, NBC Group, and Sky. Murdoch's satellite, NBC. I've got to admit, I don't know that one right off the top. And then we've got Bloomberg, Wall Street Journal, New York Times. These are reviews. New York Times. Paramount Analytics has developed a metric to rate not only the number of viewers for given shows, but the likelihood of attracting subscribers to a streaming service. That's the quote from New York Times. So, yeah, they've got reviews and contracted people. So there you go. Wow. Anyway, but that said, I always like to talk about the parameters here and emphasize that no, it is not eyeballs. But then again, the Nielsen's weren't ever actual eyeballs. You had to trust their algorithm and their formula. Okay. Instagram. When you add water to a packet of dehydrated grandmas. Thank you, Glenn. I'm so glad you made it on time today. Well, Scott, you're not poop. I don't own them. It's not my company. We've just been looking for some accessible way to check something week to week. If I found a new something that answered this question, I know Nielsen's are trying to stay relevant with the digital world, with the streaming world. It's more than that. It's more than that, Scott, and that's kind of what I was trying to do there. I think what they're trying to do is end the clickbaity headlines. Well, Dan, you just kind of come in here and just give away the farm, don't you? No, I was going to mention, but I didn't want to leave people drooling. Yes, I don't know what the strategy is, but Paramount has released the first 8 Lower Decks episodes to reviewers on screeners. I don't know what the strategy is for releasing the first 8. They really, really, really want people to explode out of the gate with whatever. They're trusting that the reactions are going to be positive and helpful for the cause. That's really something. When they did, who did 5? Did Lower Decks do 5 in second season? Um, anyway, that's been kind of amazing. To answer your question, I watched number 1. I'm busy doing a tour in 10 days. I have business stuff. Then I have a convention after that. The content schmontent. No, it's definitely a hiatus month. Thank God. Thank you, Paramount, for picking this month to have the hiatus. But I enjoyed the first one. I didn't take notes. I sat down for once and just watched a show. Didn't worry about making screen caps or taking notes or concordancizing it. Carl, that's a good question. Has anybody asked Paramount what metrics they're using for streaming? Well, they have their own. They know their own numbers, like all the streaming networks, and they let them out when they're good numbers. They let them out in press releases, like Paramount just did, or they kind of dance around them at least to some degree, good or bad, for their earnings reports. They're trying to bolster, but they're always looking for the positive spin to keep their stock price up. It's just amazing to me if you'd told me in the 70s and 80s and 90s that half of fandom media would be wait, like there was a fandom media in the 90s. There were like 3 or 4 of us. But and we were all like on slow motion pre-internet speeds. But they know their own numbers and they let it out when they feel like it. But as far as partnering, they, like I said, they have partnered with, you know what? They didn't have Paramount on their brag bar. I just realized that. Or CBS. But I know in sometime in the last year, I saw them co-release some kind of a study. Now I have to go back and find that. Google Parrot Analytics and CBS. Hi, Nick. And what, Nick, is this a first Tuesday for you? Or are you decloaking out of your lurk mode? But you're saying in the UK, Paramount Plus, which is brand new, is given away with certain Sky packages. Yes, Murdoch's pay satellite platform. Comcast. Oh, that's right. It's not Murdoch anymore. Comcast has it now. So if you subscribe to Sky Cinema package, you got Paramount Plus for free. And part of that is they are still trying to establish Paramount Plus in the UK. So they're doing all kinds of, loss leaders, buy one, get one free stuff, come to your grocery store and buy a dozen eggs, get a dozen free kind of stuff. Or as used to always get my dad, buy 1 gallon of ice cream, get the second one free, in December. Yeah. Oh, you're saying they're not paying for it, but they're there. I got you. Could be. Well, they had an overall streaming subscribers, and then they talked about Paramount Plus. So you're including Pluto, you're including the Paramount Movie app channel. So there you go. So it makes more sense that the net activity, positive or negative, just in the fervor, yeah, I call it the foam factor sometimes, the froth on top of the beer, the head of the beer factor, yeah. Yeah. Most streaming services don't release metrics or ratings or viewer numbers at all. Right. It's a totally different landscape, which is why Parrot and maybe competitors, that's why there was a vacuum of information the first few years. When the Netflix revolution came, I mean, at least the owners of HBO and Showtime, when the revolution came for The Sopranos on HBO, when the premium channel revolution came, at least the parents would proudly talk about numbers. But no, not the streamers, not the digital streamers, not the app folk. Like 5 years later, we've had this dizzying pace of change in the last 5-10 years. So there you go. Scott's heard me describe this. Boom. Okay. Oh, Zahir. The DS9 reboot. Okay. Okay, number 1, we've lost Renee. That's right, I said Renee Echevarria. Renee Aubergenois. We've lost Aaron Eisenberg. So we've seen people, you should have intellectually known this. We watched the original series cast do their movies and had them from some unfeeling slobs talk about they're getting too old to do these movies. We're watching people wonder what the specially tailored DS9 season 3 is going to look like for the TNG kit. I'm not trying to be indelicate here. I'm just saying a reboot is one thing. Are you talking about a reboot as in recast? Exactly the same? We're going to go back to those. I don't want to go back to exactly those same years with, unless there's something a one-off. If you're talking about reboot of the characters, are you talking about taking the actors playing their roles who are available in something going on at the station or elsewhere, like Picard's creeping into? Or are you talking about trying to go back to the 2370s and have people playing those? I mean, what do you mean by reboot, revisit, update, whatever? Yeah, Michael Dorn going to get rich. Let us descend into the lower decks already. Exactly, Matt. Exactly. Good to see you too. Oh no, I've been glitchy with the side of Max Headroom. Oh no. Oh no. Actually, I seem to have a side of Star Trek sideburns. No, I haven't shaved. I haven't got my points. Well, Rose, this is a question. What about people that haven't seen Picard or Strange New Worlds? Well, don't answer my poll. But saying hi back to you. None of us want to see bad, sad news anymore. Absolutely, Rose. Carl. Will I be at FanX Salt Lake Convention in September? Just had a broken foot and hope to be well enough to go. Well, I hope you are. Good luck on mending your foot, Carl. Always love to see you and the whole Seventh Fleet, all the chapters. I love how there's all these Star Trek clubs in northern Utah, southern Idaho, that not only have survived for years and keep restocking with new blood, but they all get along, work together. It's awesome. I'm going to say this right now. Because of Janet's surgery, I am not. I need to be her helper person. So for the first time in 5 or 6 years, I am not going to be at. Not counting pandemic, I'm not going to be at FanX this year, Carl. So I just told my handlers the other day, but I'll be back next year as long as they'll have me. Hopefully, we'll have more cool stuff to talk about and present and showcase by then. But you get up off that foot as soon as you can. Happy mending, happy bone knitting, whatever we say. Well, Diana, I guess we can start the show now. Whew. Okay. As Will Rogers said one time, well, I guess we got some country folk just coming in. Their flivver broke down. Hi, Nicholas Franklin Mendoza. Are you new with us on Tuesday? Glad to have you too. You can share where you're coming in from, but glad you could make it. I'm always curious how the new people find their way here. So, John X, how come you never see these snap polls? Well, John, if you would, subscribe, if you would follow me on Instagram or Twitter, those are the easiest ones. Facebook has totally taken away the poll device for your personal page. I think you can do the poll on your business page or your group page. I can do one on my personal page, but that's not where the Trek audience is. I've tried to. Hopefully, if you're Facebook friends with me, but you don't have Larry's Trekland, you're not getting any Trek content. I never put anything Trek on my personal page, unless it's something huge. Like the open house for Portal 47 is for the public. I promote it there once. Other than that, Star Trek doesn't go on my personal Facebook. There you go, man. Trinkets, t-shirts, buttons, gizmos are us. Wait. Oh no, not that. You have video, your channel, podcast, and show. Yeah. Just saying, wouldn't mind if the prophets brought back Jadzia. Well, that would be an interest. If the prophets brought back Jadzia, would she be unjoined? Because there can only be one Dax symbiont. Would they can a host body carry two different symbionts in one humanoid host's lifetime? Now that's That's a question. Has anybody in pro or fan fiction ever addressed that one? Could you have Jadzia and could the prophets bring Jadzia back? But unless you're going to go do a little Varad maneuver there and steal Dax out of Ezri, assuming Ezri is still around, or whoever the current carrier. Oh, please, Ezri would be around. Whoever the current carrier of Dax would be, or would Jadzia, if we do some kind of prophet magic, could she? If prophet magic is all encompassing, if prophet magic is as good as Q magic, then could she handle carrying another symbiont? You would think. If by the time we got that far, you would think we would snap our fingers and do a little more. But that's a good question. That's a good question. Okay, John X, thank you. The guy who introduced me to the parrots way back when. Thank you, John. Paramount International uses the parrot ratings. The parrots also count streaming numbers that are released, piracy, downloads, etc. So it counts a lot more than just internet discussion. Yeah, I always say this, but I never have anything solid to base it on aside from just parrots say so. Like, well, then how do you filter out when you do get numbers for a show versus another one and still keep it apples to apples? But I guess that's the magic of the algorithms. That's why kids are getting out of math school and going to Wall Street, not into stats class. Glenn, you're dating yourself. Is it live or is it Memorex? Yes, you did just give away your age there. I don't know. I'll have Ella Fitzgerald come in and break a glass for you. What are you saying, John? Every time these people who think they're getting around using streaming services, they're still counted by Parrot and the info used by Paramount. There you go. Dan, is this? How long of a drink do you know how to take each time after saying Trek well, everybody? And how often is your beverage actually the fountain of youth? No, it's only Diet Dr. Pepper because Diet Coke Splenda disappeared in the pandemic. Once every 3 or 4 months, I write Diet Coke on Twitter and say, hey, is Diet Coke Splenda just a dream now? Last time I did that, the Splenda account retweeted it. There's some high-level corporate shit going on. It's all balanced on my little tweet. So it's not the fountain of youth, sorry. I wish it was the fountain of youth. I just feel it in my gut. The way that I felt how the tallies were going to go on those Strange New Worlds versus Picard. I cringe even saying Picard versus Strange New Worlds. I don't want to set the kids against each other. These aren't, cats in a litter that are going to have to fight for supremacy or something. Is it a sin to consider the Orville to be Star Trek? Well, aside from descending to the terminology of sin, Matt, people have considered Galaxy Quest to be the best Star Trek movie ever made for years, including Harv Bennett. I have him on camera saying that, unprompted. But no, it's not. It's not. For one thing, the Star Trek DNA in the Orville is the DNA. The Star Trek DNA is strong with this one. I'll just say that. Well, okay. So you could be literal about this, John, or you could be spiritual. And I guess I'm taking a spiritual tack. Obviously, it's not literal. Their lawyers could sue each other if something got too out of hand. Yeah. Here's the secret. Yes, Carl. It's a love letter to Star Trek, but you enjoy it in its own right. Especially this season on Hulu. Of course, I wouldn't know because I haven't watched it yet because I'm waiting for Murders in the Building to end. And then I'm being chintzy, I swear, but that's my self-defense. Because we have to have Discovery Plus now for the food and the home remodel shows. It's out of my hands. And you can only, as everybody knows, you can only take so many of these paid streaming channels. And so now we're all going to weigh in on the Orville question. So good to see you, Narda, holding down the outback for us in Trekland. Well, this is kind of the thing, John. This is what I'm thinking. But also, early March 2020 was a whole different. It's like pre 9/11 thinking. It's like back when the Y2K thing was the biggest scare anybody had. Trying to analyze media trends before the pandemic now seems like a bridge too far to compare to anything today. Not a cardinal sin, just a wee fun one. Alrighty then now. How does it feel now that Strange New Worlds is kind of more like Odd Old Worlds, but it's still nonetheless cool? Well, I'm going to say, Dan, I totally get it. They were on some Strange New Worlds at the beginning. The first two episodes were three, at least three of the 10. We saw representatives from some worlds without going to their worlds. But I'm going to say they only had 10 slots. It's like Manning with the last season of Enterprise. We got to get this done. Here's what we're given to do it with. And so they're revisiting Vulcan and Vulcans and, Earth and some of the cool touchstones, past and future. So no, I think it was a good mix. I think they got in at least 40% of the season was a Strange New World. I'm probably not even thinking. The first half is clearer than the last half. I know it's only 10 episodes, but I haven't concordantized it yet. I haven't waded through it second by second yet. I would only say that. Parrot only has one person who does the weekly, so that person goes on vacation, they get skipped. I think it's as simple as that, Glenn. I do. John, among all of the sci-fi shows, you don't think of the Orville as a top contender at all. Now, I've heard how this season has gone serious, and the fart jokes, even 1 an hour, are a distant memory this season. So that's interesting to say that. Hi, Nicholas. You're in Modesto right now with Robot. Oh, okay. Well, glad to have you. Glad to have you, Nicholas. I couldn't remember if you'd been with us before. Okay, sorry for this because it's been 5 or 6 years in a pandemic. Did we meet when I was at ModestoCon in 2016 or so, 2017? If we did, yay. If we didn't, we'll always have Tuesdays. Oh, you're not going to watch 1 or 2. You're going to watch all 3, John. Yeah, I hope they're not repetitive. A rough time for him too. Yeah, I totally empathize. And here's me. I've been working on a tour in 10 days, y'all, but I've been meaning to reach out to Ben. He's been through some upheavals in licensing world. Okay, where are we here? Come on, guys. Oh, good Lord. I hate it when the thing. Wow. There we are. Yay. Now I'll hide you off. Okay. Oh, have we been skipping and glitching today, gang? I'm really sorry if so. You had no idea that Ron Moore and Ira Bear developed Outlander. Spoilers. Sorry, gay. Yes. Now, I knew Ron did. I forget that Ira developed it. But there you go. There you go. Ira came into the 4400. The interviews I have of Ira on early day Trekland, my blog, that are still up. He's running alphas, which didn't last but a couple years. But he came into the 4400 and ran that. And they're talking about rebooting it, but I don't think with him. Yeah, yeah, Gay. It was a huge. It's like Supernaturals has a huge, thick fan following. Wonder what the franchise fees are these days. Yeah, yeah. Great time travel story, Larry. What did I say? Okay. Yikes. Hmm. Yes, absolutely. Hey, Ed, are you new with us on Tuesday? So I don't, everybody don't. If I say that, don't be insulted. I'm especially on YouTube. I'm so unused to seeing folks on YouTube. It always gets my attention. So I am looking forward to STLV2. What I'm not looking forward to is navigating Bally's, any new place, because we don't have time. We have to spend time learning logistics and timing. And Bally's is going to be on two different floors. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic to play out. Absolutely, Tobias. I wasn't in Washington, but I was there. Watched the speech at night. I knew it was a Thursday because my little brother and I, my mom's folks, my grandparents that lived next door to us. We actually lived in the corner of their quarter section. We always in the summer months and on holidays, like weeks like spring break, Christmas break, we would they would go to town on Fridays. They went into Norman, and we always went with them, and then we would have lunch with them and spend the afternoon with them. We rode our bikes down to their house. They were our neighbors technically, but I remember because the next day after he resigned at noon, when Ford took the oath of office, I was watching it on at my grandma and grandpa's. So I will always remember that he resigned on a Thursday night on August 8th. And then Ford sworn in the next day. Yeah. 2 more years and it'll be 50 years. Wow. And it was great summer drama. We were all out of school. But I'm with you absolutely. Jason, you wonder when fans will get fatigued by knowing that with only 10 episodes of character development that most of the non-legacy characters are going to be written off the show. Will we ever have 150 episodes of an ensemble like TNG, DS9? Good question. Good question. Or has what didn't pop up? You were too long for the message window. Or has the nature of streaming changed that forever? Well, forever as in right now. Forever as until the next change. There was a time when the idea of a rerun was revolutionary. Reruns went from, oh my God, if everybody had to watch TV because it was live, and if you didn't see it when it happened, it was gone forever. And the idea of anything sports, there'd be newsreels of president speeches and World Series games or something, and battles and wars, but just everyday, the minutia of life, or pop culture as we call it now. And Desi and Lucy reruns was like a revolution. And then eventually we saw the reruns as the cheap filler that we don't get new stuff. But in the beginning, reruns were a revolution. And then, go down the line. Every time there's been a new paradigm, measuring audience numbers by demos, not raw numbers. Measuring the repeat recordings instead of blowing that off, which would have made Enterprise a huge hit because it was the most TiVo'd show on TV. But it didn't matter then. Just like Star Trek was the perfect 18 to 35 demo. But it didn't matter then. It was all about the raw numbers, and old people watch TV. Yep. So this is a thing. People laugh about, we've got four, Discovery's on its 5th season. Well, in the old days, it would be like halfway through its 3rd. Wouldn't it? 10 and 10 and 10. Yeah. Yeah, we'd be in the 3rd season of Discovery if it was an old school show. And they'd all look a lot older from all those 16-hour days crammed into 9 months of the year on a soundstage. So it's changed it forever until the next change. Could be. Yeah. So I think the bottom line here is Michael Dorn's record is probably intact. and nowhere close to. It's about like I always talk about how many hours of Trek on camera there are versus Star Wars. Now that they're having series on Star Wars, they're just little things. It's never going to catch up to Star Trek until we have the next big quantum inversion of what's made and what's popular and what's not. $1 million. Yes, there you go. Yes, Christoph, I meant to do this last night, but I got sucked into tour business. European Ask Dr. Trek for the Portales will be tomorrow. It is not part of the Guest Night Shuffle. The Guest Night Shuffle already happened, and this month our guest in Portal is Tim Peel. Looking forward to that and talking about Star Trek in 2017. Absolutely. Okay. I just haven't got the emails out and got it on the page yet. Well, I hope season 3 is stellar. That should be a given, right? Isn't that where they travel? Hey, Michael, we'll let you in being late. You and William too. What are we doing here? Yeah. Now this is our discussion. Never going back to 26 episode seasons. I think you've got actors, writers, directors. On one hand, everybody who is in industry health plans, whether you're writers, directors, actors, much less all the IATSE type crews of different persuasions, grips and makeup and lighting and whatever, art people. You got to work 2 series now to have your points to where you're going to get all your benefits, or else you're going to lose your health insurance. Of course, if we ever went to universal health care here in the States, that would all be a moot point. But for those who like to feel like they're working all year long, but have 2 totally different series and go from back and forth from one to the other, that's kind of the new reality too. But having said that, boy, crews who are grinding it out on a stage, or writers who are grinding out their brains to get 26 done in a year and knowing there's just going to be 5 or 6 clunkers in that batch, yeah, they're never going to go back to 26 a year. It's like going back to a 12-hour standard work week when we've gotten used to 8. And even that's looking ridiculously low. We're not on the George Jetson level yet. Yeah. Amazing what they got done with 10. See, part of this is just the finesse of knowing what to do and knowing what start. That's why it's taken a long while and different people doing it. It's not Alex Kurtzman sitting there with the Play-Doh Fun Factory. Human beings have got to figure out how to take the Star Trek thing and make it work. Just like TNG had to take the Star Trek formula and make it work, not just with modern effects, but with a recast formula. You didn't just have the lead and the number 2 and then everybody down here as you need them. It was ensemble. The trendoid of TV then was the ensemble. Thank you, LA Law and Hill Street Blues and St. Elsewhere. Those were the pioneering shows that changed TV drama. When times were simpler, yeah. Let's see. He's talking about Pike, yeah. He's not even like, can I cook or can I? Yeah. Nice article that I dropped on Nichelle's Coming to Trek Origins this last week. Thanks, Larry. An article? You're talking about the Instagram post about her episode on the Lieutenant? Whatever it is, thank you. You're welcome. I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about, though, Michael. Remember when the president was in such trouble he quit Pepperidge Farm, remembers? Yes, indeed, Tobias. I remember the Pepperidge Farm commercials. Yes, that was my introduction to a New England, Vermont accent. Yes, indeedy. And then I heard Will Rogers' impersonation of Calvin Coolidge, and it just all clicked in. He's what they call back home a close chewer and a tight spitter. Uh, Ever noticed that the Paramount Press website is great for desktop and laptop computers, but extremely difficult to use on mobile devices, cell phones? Well, gosh, Dan, we're kind of going into the weeds a little bit here for just a simple old Trekland Tuesdays live show. No, I haven't, because I try not to use cell phones and mobile devices for anything halfway important. If it's something that's been cut down to be simplified, like bank account access, that's awesome. But for anything major, I pull my hair out. But I hadn't noticed it, but it does not surprise me. Remember when people believed in science and truth? Yeah. Surely, IMDb ratings is another method of monitoring ratings. What's the protocol for IMDb ratings? Is that people judging like Rotten Tomatoes? I need to get up with you if you're not going to explain it to me in 20 words or less. Maybe the data dump was a mistake. I missed that one. Thank you. That's what it was. Speaking of going in the weeds, Strange New Worlds had the 5. I knew somebody had like, oh my God, look how many they're doing. And then like, well, I'll see your 5 and raise you to 7 plus 1. Why they added the 8th one? It's like, oh, I told you 8, stupid, not 7. I'm sorry, sir. Get that 8th one out pronto. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. They send out a screener with 7, and then 3 or 4 days later comes the 8th episode. Like, okay. Oh wait, here's this one. It's ABF, everything but finale, or ABPF, everything but penultimate and finale, unless it's a 2-parter. What are you saying here, Melanie? Networks and streaming services are getting more complicated and greedy. Yeah, we've come from cable aggregating channels to now streamers aggregating cable. When NBC sold Trek and other Paramount shows to CBS, it quickly went to CBS All Access. NBC didn't own Paramount. The corporation owned Star Trek, and then when they split, that's how CBS wound up with it. They went the whole thing was in 2006. The negotiating powers that be from both ends of the zygote, from both ends of the twin cell that was about to split, they agreed that Star Trek was primarily a TV franchise, not a film franchise. It was TV cake with movie side icing, and that it went. Now there was a last minute attempt to yank it back to the movie side, but it didn't work. And Moonves prevailed, and Star Trek was labeled a TV franchise with movie extras, and it went to CBS. And that's where it stayed until we had the remarriage, the reconciliation. Mm-hmm. And now, as of September, no longer be broadcasting Days of Our Lives. It will be on peak. Well, that was the whole model. All the soap operas left. In fact, I thought they left years ago. I was kind of shocked to see there were still 2 or 3 on one of the networks. But they're gonna so soap fans are gonna have to get their fix on the streamers and not on broadcast TV. Yeah, I thought this had already. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not even showing. I did. It's below the line. Be a warning, guys. If you want your quote fully on the screen, it cuts off after about that long. Yeah, I thought all the soaps were off of broadcast. By the time they run those syndicated yak shows now, game shows have all but dried up. I thought they were wall to wall, either infomercials early or just celebrity talk shows all day long. But apparently not. Apparently there still were soaps on. So yay. That's true. Yes, Stan, but there's a big difference in a one-off homage, right? And an ongoing series where you need the character for 10 episodes now. Apparently 10 is the number I'm hearing. It's going to be interesting to see Discovery only be 10 episodes after they started off with as many as 15, because the formula was not established. We didn't know. This isn't. Have you seen some think tank on this, Glenn? When cable eventually goes away, the streamers are going to have some numbers out because they're going to add commercials and have to charge ad for them again. And we will have come right. The only thing that's changed is the delivery system and the technology. We've gone from broadcast over the air and antennaed TVs to everything being digital, but we're back essentially the same. That's scary. Hello, large unidentified reptile. Lure. Remember when Netflix, MST3K came out? And it was understood that nobody would ever see the numbers on that show, but there were still ways to know the second season underperformed. Like you saw budget cuts. Yeah. One of the robots just disappeared. Well, there is this. There is that animated. I haven't had a chance to see. That's what the rumors are swirling, or people just love to take a thing and run with it. Hey, how much of this would drive just getting the original series, the original DS9 series, Blu-rayified in HD and up-resed? That would be, question 2 in development. Now that you say that, I'm not sure. I think everybody just assumed live action for both in development series, but maybe because we had Section 31 and we had the Academy show. Yeah. Or maybe the dramatized podcast idea, which would be low budget, even for an animated series versus live. Animated podcast, which wouldn't be a podcast, then it would be some kind of a cam show, streaming camera show. Yes. Spock has the saying, only Nixon go to China. Of course, Spock has a very Vulcan tongue that he can plant firmly in his Vulcan cheek if he wants to. Nixon will always be remembered in the future. By the way, I say it again, my friend Ralph Miller, who did independent audio for all the fan films, the best fan films, he does a Nixon impersonation. Look it up on YouTube. 1701 Pennsylvania Avenue. It's still awesome. It's still hysterical. What are you saying, Jason? What do I suspect they'll announce on Star Trek Day? Maybe some debut days for Picard. Maybe some more teaser, spoiler, promo bits for dates related to Picard, and then related to Discovery. I don't know. Maybe we'll get one episode a month of Prodigy. One episode a quarter of Prodigy. Squeeze it out there like the bottom of the tube of toothpaste. Hey, Nicholas. Okay, good deal. Sorry, I was just trying to ask. I don't see you here often, so yay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to, here's our private life. Hopefully it's not extreme. It's just something that she needs some, my help with mobility. I'm her mobility buddy. And hopefully it'll be something she'll be bouncing back from pretty quick. Yes. We're just on paranoid infection watch, just not even letting the common cold get in. Okay. Usually watch at home, not at a friend's home. Okay. Hey, you're going to buy motion picture and Star Trek in 4K on Star Trek Day, so they'll announce 8K remastered second. Of course. You see the pattern. You heard they're doing global streams again, so we might get lots of Paramount Plus data for several countries. That would be good, because, I hear it's coming out later in the year. We'll have to talk about that tomorrow on Euro Ask Dr. Trek. Oh, there's the mystery. Okay, well, glad you could join us together. Ooh, it's a Trekland Tuesdays live watch party. Is that a thing? Who's ordered the pizza? Rose, I do. Everything now apparently is going to be a uniform 10. Of course, the animateds are a uniform half hour, 22, 23 minutes, whatever. The Prophets Gods. They dared to think of themselves as gods. Um, Depends on who you talk to. People with crinkly noses, most of them think they're gods. People that don't have the crinkly noses call them the wormhole builders. So there you go, Matt. It's all in your point of view. Oof. Uh, oh, I see what we're talking about. Yeah, rebirthing Jadzia, reimagining the prophets could bring Jadzia back as a symbiont, as symbiont Dax. Well, but are they going to create a second? Are they going to clone the Dax symbiont from inside Esri? Can you do that? Please, no more reboots. Thank you, Narda. Thank you. How much of the Trek universe have we not explored? Why? Get off this thing about. I think people are finally. I've actually heard people saying, please, no more Kirk and Spock for a while, which is sad because you don't want to burn them out in the eyes of new people. Mm. There are websites that specifically track piracy numbers. So, did Diet Dr. Pepper's stevia disappear? Diana, I never saw it to begin with. So I guess it did. I still have never seen it. That's interesting. I was just on Diet Coke Splenda because it was something besides, eat your brain off faster. It is, Glenn. But when Diet Coke Splenda went away, I had to have something. I had to have some kind of cold caffeine. And if I'm going to have it that way, I would go back to, and Diet Dr. Pepper was, after they had the Great Taste reboot a few years into it, after that horrible version, I made up for all the years I didn't drink a Diet Dr. Pepper. Yes, I finally did see it, Rose, in the middle of everything else. So, yes, JR, the sweetener conspiracy. Dum, dum, dum. Okay, at least I know it was a failed experiment and didn't last. Maybe you were in a test market. Was this in Phoenix or in Central Oklahoma, Di? Because Central Oklahoma is a notorious test market. I don't mean notorious. I mean, it's notoriously seen as middle America, and people who will try new things. $3 of Orville beats any modern day Trek at the moment. Oh, season 3 of Orville beats any modern day Trek at the moment. Well, I'll be the judge of that, Rusty. Strange New Worlds. Strange New Worlds. Yeah, but we'll see. Hey, JR. Good to see you, sir. The Orville is the Orville. The Orville is the Orville. Not Star Trek. Let it be its own thing. It is wonderful by itself. Yeah. Again, it's not literally Star Trek. Is it kind of spiritual next door adjacent Star Trek? The way we laugh about Galaxy, except Galaxy Quest is not threatening because it's only a 2-hour movie, and the Orville is building a thing, But so hey, hashtag renew the Orville. I'm all for it. Yay, gung ho! I can't wait to see season 3 when I see it. I'm just going to be smart about it. I'm also going to get through an experimental prototype tour and Trek Vegas before I worry about it. Except I may try to watch the Orville before Trek Vegas, just so I'm not hopelessly behind everybody who's somehow at the wrong convention. Narda, I have captions now. Oh, now they're gone. They keep coming and going. Well, I pick. I'm picking and choosing. It's not, I'm trying to show, these are spotlight showcase captions. Yeah. Otherwise, we'd never get out of the hellos at the beginning. Here's a vote for continuing the writer's room teaser for DS9 Season 8. Yeah. Okay, Scott, we're going to lay down the definitions here. People confuse reboot with revival or sequel when they usually mean a revival or a sequel. Yeah, to me, a reboot is you start over and you recast the original people and you put it at the format time of the original. To me, that's a reboot. A revival or a sequel is what they are. You pick up with them and you either try to fake the years going by, or you just say, as the original series first motion picture did, you say, okay, well, 2.5 years have gone by. It's been 10, but shush. And then you make up for it with the second movie. Oh, look, 15 years. Okay, yay. Ah, okay. We did meet in Modesto. Well, I kind of thought we probably did because there weren't that many. It was a smallish con. It was wonderful. And there weren't that many Trek fans. Although I went to there were two ships, two Starfleet ship chapters that had a joint meeting. I went to their banquet, their dinner, was invited in. Very nice. So I know there were like a couple of dozen Trek people, but I knew it wasn't the hugest population. Met you and Robot in that year. Oh, that's right. Okay. You suspect even a prequel could be good. So much counts on execution. Like Nick Meyer often says about the death of Spock, it's not whether they killed him, it's whether they did it well. There you go. Hey, Nicholas. Yes, I did have a good time. I'm sure we had a good meeting. I look forward to it down the line. And if you can bend anybody's ear, I'll come back if they have me again. Yeah, you and me both, Narda. We have so many corners and eras. Literal corners, physical corners, temporal corners that we could explore. Oh my gosh. Oh, Melanie. Okay, you've probably told me this somewhere along the way. ModestoCon was kind of a blur. I was thinking it was 2016 because it was the 50th and they wanted a cheap Trek person. Thank you, sir. Thank you for dropping by, JR. Check out his stuff, everybody. Okay, are we getting close to the end of the chat here? Wasn't Three Stooges syndicated early on in Little Rascals, Our Gang in the 40s? Well, they were all movie shorts. Now they did do a TV version of Three Stooges, a TV show, but the original Three Stooges were all the shorts for theaters. When you had the newsreel and the cartoon and the short movie, and then you had the B movie, and then you had the A movie, and you had even more newsreels through all that. But the original, just like Laurel and Hardy, or just like well, in the early days, that's all you had. But when you got to three reelers, when you had at least 90-minute feature movies, you had a whole program because people expected the movie program to resemble a vaudeville variety show program. Yeah, a lot of things got shown on early day TV because they were just cheap and local stations could run old black and white stuff and nobody cared because it was all 30, 40, 50 years old. But it filled up their time. The Bowery Boys, anybody? The Dead End Kids. I was way old when I found out that the Bowery Boys had been the Dead End Kids in the movies. What are you saying here, Dan? You always remember how David Gerald talked about how he wrote The Trouble with Tribbles thinking it would only be screened once. Yeah. Total paradigm shift in your thinking. The same way that serialized TV is a total paradigm shift from one-off episodes. And that was my point. You don't just learn it. You got to learn it, but then you've got specifically Star Trek, which has never been that. And how do you convert it over? Yeah. Because, Dan, despite the great Toronto migration, thank God, Star Trek is still an American-owned company. Still owned by an American company. That's right. Although, I asterisk the hell out of that every year. And I do a nod and a wink at the Canadians. And then we move right along with September 8th being Star Trek Day. 57 pool. You do have a Star Trek shirt going on. We haven't had Captain Cat here today. How about that? Well, I mean, Canadians didn't make it. It's just the market that had to show it 2 days early. And who knew? Who cared? It's like the debate over the first interracial kiss. The Brits are all going, but we had an interracial. It's like, oh my God, do we have to be so global? Who started the internet? Who opened that door and let everybody in? Uh, yeah, that's what I thought. So how subjective is that? That's like me asking for hits on my that's people make runs. Yeah, that's not going to be an objective count. Still using a desktop PC. That's what I'm on right now. There's something I can't use Restream. Oh, believe me, I can't use Restream on a mobile device. There you go. Shatner introduced it and talked for 2 days. There you go. What show released 8 episodes to reviewers? Lower Decks? Yes, Lower Decks. Let's see. Okay, we've got. Oh, well, you're welcome, Melanie. Hey, you're in Trekland. You know, we try to clear things up and not spread the misinfo. Has been in HD for so many. What did I say? The Blu-ray upres to match what's been done with next gen and the original series. There you go. Wacky stuff happened when you got back to an original negative. Okay. But I'll get it if you watch it. I'll watch it if they make it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that sounds like a test market thing for Oklahoma. Dublin Dr. Pepper still tasted like the. Oh, yeah, I love. That's the one thing I will do. I'll go to other countries and see standard American crap like fast food from McDonald's and Burger King and just taste it once just to see the difference. And sometimes the differences are because they're making it from local material. Local material. Sometimes the material includes food. Okay, now Matt, if you're going to go all French on me, yeah, I'm out of here. I'm tapping my translator. Um, yeah, good question, Dan. We should research that and see because it's had such a problematical legal entanglement. That's the part of the problem. Um, well, I don't ever want to think of Kirk and Spock and McCoy as tired. I just want to get on. If we had 7 levels going of new, I would say sure, but I want to. So many undiscovered corners. The undiscovered corner of the sandbox of the canon sandbox. Um, Alrighty. I heard this reaction from many people, so you're not alone. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, but here's the thing, Glenn. It doesn't have to be the Enterprise B and C. It could be other ships at that time. God, does the whole world have to revolve around the Enterprise? This is my reaction to Journey to Babel after 20 years. Can we just go where they're from? Do we have to have every show on this ship? Can we please see the rest of the galaxy? Uh, really? Are you teasing me here, Christoph? It's really the end of the chat scratching? Remember Flash Cord reruns? You mean the Saturday morning serial? Yeah, 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 yeah. End of line, end of line. Hey, Alan. Hadn't seen you for a while, so good to see you. Yes, yes. The chat is Canadian. Absolutely. And James Doohan was too. Yeah. Uh, auf Deutsch bitte? Okay, we're there. We are there. Yay, everybody. Hey, thanks for the chat. Thanks, everybody. Did I stir something up here? I think I did. I don't know if anybody actually saw those news stories, but I thought here, when we're in between headlines, that would be something to dive into and maybe even stir up a little insight, awareness or two there. So, once again, thanks everybody for joining us on Tuesday. I'm going to repeat once more. Yeah. A thank you to all of our TTL folks and our live wires, and how this happens at the end of the month, but Patreon collects it at the end of the month. So simple, $5, $10 a month. We're gradually growing the streaming here. Appreciate it if everybody can jump on patreon.com/Trekland Live. And if you have not seen or heard any of the Trek files, they're there. We're on hiatus for a few more weeks, but they're all still there cogitating 8 seasons worth, including some folks like Dorothy Fontana, Richard Arnold, who are no longer with us. So great visits there. Absolutely. And most of all, we still have a couple of seats left. I actually technically had 4, but that's iffy. So I'm going to say this is an offer. A, 2 seats. B, $50 off. I didn't do the flip. And we need to know by Thursday midnight. This is in 10 days, gang. I can't wait to try this out. It's not a locations tour, but yeah, the Great Bird Origins tour. I could never have run the concentration board in the 60s at NBC in New York. The Great Bird Origins tour, I'm so looking forward to this, and I'm so looking forward to having fans and Rod and revisiting parts of his life and Gene's life. It'll be something different. So that's coming up. Join us anywhere you can around the rest of Trekland. Awesome. As well, it's Larry Nemechek on Twitter, Larry's Trekland or Larry Nemechek's Trekland on YouTube. Like and subscribe, hit the bell. Facebook and Instagram, because you never know when we might just be having another snap poll. The newsletter is also good for that too. And yeah, that would be LarryNemechek.com. You can find out about all of this, the news, the tours, everything Trekland is over there, including Portal 47. Or you could just go to portal47.net and check it out. Our portales are all reassembling as the pandemic wears down. And I can't wait. Can't wait for, well, tomorrow's European Roundtable every month. But end of the month, Tim Peel, who once again is a graphic supervisor, assistant art director, first assistant art director, who goes way beyond the call of duty of a typical graphics guy's nod. And he's been with modern Star Trek since early 2017. Yes, he's been through the trenches. So having said all that, everybody, please, thanks for joining us. Try us again next Tuesday or the next time we can cross paths live. Stay well. What else can I say? Do all the things. Wherever you are, whatever's going on. Stay woke. Check your sources. And track well, everybody.